Listen carefully, because this message is not meant for your ears, it is meant for your heart. Somewhere in your life, between all the noise, the pressure, the expectations and the pain, you forgot something very important. You forgot how deeply you are loved. The world taught you to measure your worth by success, by money, by approval, by perfection. But God never measured you that way. When Jesus walked on this earth, He came to remind humanity of a truth so powerful that even today it shakes souls. You are loved not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Jesus did not arrive with a crown made of gold, He wore a crown of thorns. He did not sit on a throne, He walked dusty roads. He did not surround Himself with the powerful, He surrounded Himself with the broken, the rejected, the sinners, the forgotten. And through every step He took, through every word He spoke, He repeated one message again and again in different ways: God has not given up on you. The world gives love with conditions. If you succeed, you are accepted. If you fail, you are ignored. If you are strong, you are respected. If you are weak, you are forgotten. But Jesus flipped the system upside down. He loved people before they changed. He forgave people before they repented. He accepted people before they fixed themselves. And that love did what rules never could. It healed hearts. It transformed lives. It turned ordinary people into living miracles. People think Jesus came to start a religion, but that was never His goal. Religion builds walls. Jesus broke them. Religion says, prove yourself. Jesus says, come to me. Religion says, you are guilty. Jesus says, you are forgiven. Religion says, you are not enough. Jesus says, you are mine. That is why His message scared the powerful and comforted the weak. That is why sinners felt safe around Him while religious leaders felt threatened. Look at how Jesus treated people who were ashamed of their past. He never exposed them. He restored them. When a woman was dragged in front of Him, accused, humiliated, and ready to be punished, Jesus did not join the crowd. He silenced them. He looked at her not with judgment, but with mercy. And in that moment, He taught the world something timeless. God's grace is louder than your mistakes. Most people carry invisible wounds. Regret, guilt, fear, shame. Jesus knew this. That is why He never said, fix yourself and then come. He said, come and I will heal you. He knew that broken people don't need lectures, they need love. They don't need condemnation, they need compassion. They don't need rejection, they need hope. And hope was Jesus' language. Hope for the sick. Hope for the poor. Hope for the lost. Hope for the ones who thought it was too late. Jesus walked into hopeless situations and spoke life. He stood at graves and spoke resurrection. He stood in storms and spoke peace. He stood before sinners and spoke forgiveness. Everywhere He went, things changed, not because of force, but because of love. Jesus also understood something the world still struggles to accept. Fear is one of humanity's greatest prisons. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of the future. Fear of being alone. That is why one of His most repeated messages was simple: do not be afraid. Not because danger would disappear, but because God would never leave. Fear loses its power when you know you are not alone. When the disciples were terrified in a storm, Jesus did not panic. He slept. Not because the storm was small, but because God was present. That moment was a message in itself. When God is with you, even chaos has limits. Life will shake you. Storms will come. But fear does not get the final word. Faith does. Jesus taught that faith is not pretending everything is fine. Faith is trusting God even when nothing makes sense. Faith is choosing hope when logic says give up. Faith is believing that even pain has purpose and even delay has meaning. And Jesus lived that message all the way to the cross. The cross was not an accident. It was not defeat. It was love in its purest form. While people mocked him, he stayed silent. While people hurt him, he stayed loving. While people expected revenge, he offered forgiveness. The cross showed the world how far God was willing to go to bring humanity back to love. Not halfway. Not conditionally. All the way. When Jesus said, "It is finished," he was not talking about his life. He was talking about the power of sin, guilt, and separation. He was declaring that humanity no longer had to earn God's love. It was already given, paid for, secured. The resurrection was God's final statement: love is stronger than death. And that resurrection message is still alive today. It speaks to the addict who thinks they are beyond help. It speaks to the person who failed again and again. It speaks to the one who feels forgotten by the world. It speaks to you. It says, get up. This is not the end. Jesus never promised comfort. He promised meaning. He never promised easy paths. He promised His presence. He never said life would be fair. He said God would be faithful. And that promise has carried people through wars, losses, diseases, and heartbreaks for over 2000 years. The most powerful part of Jesus' message is this: you matter. Not because of your achievements. Not because of your reputation. But because you are created by God. Your life is not an accident. Your pain is not ignored. Your prayers are not unheard. Every tear you cry is counted. Every silent struggle is seen. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are tired." That invitation still stands. Tired of pretending. Tired of trying to be strong. Tired of carrying pain alone. Jesus never asked people to impress Him. He asked them to trust Him. And trust changes everything. This message changed fishermen into leaders, cowards into martyrs, broken people into healers. And it is still changing lives today. Not because the world got better, but because God never changed. Love never changed. Grace never changed. Hope never changed. And if you are listening to this right now, understand something clearly: this moment is not random. God is reminding you of who you are. Loved. Chosen. Forgiven. Never alone. The same love that raised Jesus from the grave is still reaching hearts today.